my favorite line in the book is when Holly, my protagonist, who's had her dreams crushed and her heart broken and shattered in a million pieces, thinking she's never going to survive. And she ends up in India at the spiritual bookstore, and the bookstore owner's a retired professor of psychology, and he becomes her mentor, the one she can confide in. And one day she says to him, "But did he ever love me?" And he looks at her and he said, "Holly, a man like this is not capable of love. Asking a man like this to love you is like asking a man with no arms to hold you.
Oh,
Simply impossible." And that's the essence of the book.
hello, everyone, and welcome to Midlife, the search for meaning in the middle. I am your host, Lisa Steadman, and today we're joined by multiple best-selling author, self-proclaimed queenager, and heart whisperer Arielle Ford. Some fun facts about this amazing woman. She's on a mission to help women find love, keep love, and be loved. Her international best-selling book, The Soulmate Secret: Manifest the Love of Your Life with the Law of Attraction, has been published in 21 languages and 40 countries. And she began writing her first work of fiction, The Love Thief, in her 60s. Welcome to Midlife.
Thank you. Yep, I think I'm about to turn 73. So I think I'm going into the final trimester of life. That's kind of how I'm framing it now.
I love it. I love it. Well, as I said to you before we started recording, it is such a pleasure to have you here because we've known each other a long time. We don't see each other or talk to each other very often, but I follow who you are, how you show up in the world, and I marvel at how intentionally you create your life. And I want to talk about that today, so I'm very excited to have you here.
Yeah, well, my whole philosophy on that has changed radically in the last 5 years.
Ooh.
So I'm happy to talk about that because I spent the majority of my life as a highly ambitious type A, make shit happen, law of attraction proponent. And I am no longer any of those things. And I have
Love
found
it.
something that for me is so much better.
Oh my
Not
God.
that
Well, let's start there because guilty is charged. And so let's talk about that shift. Well, first, let's talk about the awareness that you had that created the shift.
it happened during the pandemic. And so, I had nothing to do. And I was going crazy because I'm used to going, doing, being, whatever. And I started thinking one day about, not only all the things I'd manifested intentionally, but when I looked at the greatest things that have ever happened to me, the biggest, best life-changing things, I did not manifest any of them. And I
Ooh.
saw that I could not have manifested them because my imagination was never big enough to have conjured up what came to me. And so out of that, what I saw was that those things, those life-changing, massively awesome things, were my destiny. And what I did was I received them and I took them baby step by baby step to do the right next thing, to do what was mine to do. So that was part one. So it was
That's
about
incredible.
receiving destiny, right? And then I
That is profound. So, when you came to this awareness, did you think, what a waste of hustle and grind, or did you just surrender to the truth?
you know, I didn't think, I don't regret anything that I've done, you
Yeah.
know, at all, because it was all useful.
Yes.
I had a lot of needs and wants and desires and bucket lists that I wanted to accomplish. And then one day, it's now probably about 15 years ago, I woke up and I realized my ambition was gone. I didn't know where it
I
went,
love that.
but it was just gone. and I didn't know what to make of it, because who was I if I
Right.
was not? It was so my
Without that,
identity, you know? And so I spent a couple of years just kind of like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? Like there were things to do, but they weren't turning me on and getting excited.
yes.
But then when the world came to a stop, at least my world came to a stop, and I started to really dive into those big life changing moments and have appreciation for the fact that life wasn't just about what does Arielle want, but really what does God, universe, karma, dharma, whatever have in store for me, the allowing of which will be mind blowing. And in that moment, I chose, well, let's just spend the rest of my life receiving the destiny, whatever it is, and it was a good time to stop because I couldn't be out there teaching,
Right.
and it no longer seemed authentic to who I was to be saying, okay, well, I'd like a new car and I'd like this kind of car and I want to get a really great deal on it, or I'd like to win it or somebody give it to me, and start working on something like that.
Right.
And so a couple of things happened along the way, one of which is my novel, The Love Thief,
Yes. We're
because,
going off script. Let's just flow. I
okay.
love it.
Well, I had never, writing a novel was never on my to-do list.
And you've written what, like over, I
11,
mean, I
I've
think I
written
counted 10.
11 nonfiction books, none
Yes.
of which I ever really wanted to write, but they were inside and I had to get them out, so I did.
Yes.
But then this in the fall of 2018, something really crazy happened. My husband walked into my office one morning and he said to me, "You should write a book about me." Now, this was so out of character for him to say something like this. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "You should write a book about me called I Married an Alien." And
Okay.
and I said, "That's like the stupidest thing you've ever said." I said, "I know you think you're weird, but I don't think you're weird. And I don't really believe you're an alien, even though you've claimed to be from another planet. Just leave, go back inside."
Yeah.
So, but then I started thinking about it and I started thinking, well, if I were going to write a book about Brian, what would that book be?
Mm,
Because the fact that he asked for it was so like not him, I thought maybe
right.
this is a message. And I saw that the book would be about the soul of who he is, because Brian lives his life on a mission. And he believes that his mission is to have everyone he comes in contact with have the experience of being loved. That's his mission. So I saw that if I were going to write about him, I would write about a man with this personality, this gentle, loving, kind, but expansive, enlightened consciousness. And then I
Right.
dropped it because I didn't want to write another book, especially a book about, this was like so not in my wheelhouse. But then the next day, the first line of the book came to me. It just like popped in my head,
I
which
love
is,
when this happens.
"My mother was right." I thought, oh my God, what a great opener. And as soon as I heard it, I knew what the story was about. And I thought, but this is fiction. And then so like for days, different parts of the book would like they were in my head like a movie. I was watching a movie
Yes.
in my
You
head.
see it.
And in my head, part of the movie was that it takes place in Rishikesh, India. And I'm thinking to myself, ah, I do not want to write. I don't know how to write fiction. I don't want to write fiction.
Now,
I'm not
had
going
you
to
ever
write this
been
book.
to this part of India?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But so so then I saw that masterclass.com had a course with Dan Brown. I'm a
Oh,
fangirl,
wow.
love Dan Brown. So I signed up for it. And on the third video episode, which was so great because you're sitting in his living room and it's like he's talking right to you. And the third episode is location as a character in the book. And then
Hmm.
I went, oh, just like Florence was a character in Da Vinci Code,
Right.
Rishikesh is a character in this movie in my head. Now I'm still thinking, I don't want to write this book. But this book is like kicking and screaming inside of me.
I
You know,
love when that happens.
yeah. And I thought to myself, well, in order for me to write this book, I need to go back to Rishikesh because I've never walked the streets absorbing all the senses and what it
Sure.
smells like and the way the light hits the river and blah 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 blah. And I decided to talk to God about it. So I said, "Listen, God, I don't want to write this book. I really don't want to write this book. But if I'm meant to write this book, then here's what I need from you. I need a business class round trip ticket to Rishikesh." And I knew that's somewhere in the ballpark of $7,000. I thought, I was like so relieved. Oh, this is never going to
It's never
happen.
gonna happen.
Never going to happen. 2 days later, I went to this video studio to record a PSA for this charity I'm involved with. And my former business partner was there as part of the video crew. And he says to me, "Hey, Arielle, what are you up to?" And he says, and I said to him, "Well, I'm trying to manifest a business class ticket to India." And he didn't ask me why. He just said, "When do you want to go?" And I threw out some dates, random dates. And he looked at his calendar and he said, "I'll take you." The last time, because we'd been to India together once before, he goes, "Last time we went to India, we had a blast. I would love to take you to India." Bam, I've got the ticket. So now I'm like freaking out. Anyway, the day before we're supposed to leave, he calls to say he can't go. He goes, "But your ticket's waiting for you. You should go," which was even better because that
Even
way
better.
I wasn't going to be distracted because I knew what I needed to do. So I went to India. I spent 7 days there. Everything I'd been seeing in my head, I literally walked into the door to the places I was seeing in my head. Like a lot of the story takes place in a spiritual bookstore in Rishikesh. Now, in all the previous times I've been to Rishikesh, I never walked into a spiritual bookstore, but this time I did. And it was
That even
exact.
surprises me.
Well, I already had all the spiritual
Yeah,
books I needed.
it's
It's
true.
not like
So you've
I
written
didn't.
them.
Well, no, I had access to them. All my clients were the authors of all these books. So I didn't really need a spiritual bookstore.
Right, right.
Anyway, so that was the beginning of the process of writing The Love Thief. And then from there, it took me 5.5 years to write it because I didn't know how to write fiction. And I
Very
had
different
always,
beast.
I knew that I was a good nonfiction writer. I had proof of that, but I had no clue how different it was. And what I can now tell you is that the only thing nonfiction and fiction have in common is that they both use words. Other than that, they're completely different. So the learning curve was really intense. We were still in the pandemic. So I was writing the pandemic into the narrative, which later all had to come out. But it took 5.5 years to write it. And crazy things happened along the way, one of which was this is the funniest thing that happened. I sent the book to a book doctor in the UK to help me with some stuff. And then it came back and 13 pages, single space notes. And then there was a Zoom with the editor. And at the end of the Zoom, she says to me, the book, by the way, at that time was called The Love Walla. It's called The Love Walla.
Okay.
She says to me, "By the way, you have to change the title of the book." And I was like, "Why? I love that title." She said, "Well, if you hope to have readers in the UK, you should know that in the UK, the word Walla is a racial slur."
Good
And I was
reason to
like,
change the title.
thank God she told me that, right? So then then maybe a year later, I'm close to being done. Everything's there. And it's like the title issue. What's the title going to be? So I'm in bed one night. It's about midnight. We live facing the ocean and it's a moonless night. It's dark, but I can hear the waves crashing. and I'm sitting up in bed, my husband's sleeping, and I say to my dead sister, Debbie, I have an idea for a title, but if this is the title, I need you to send me a sign immediately. I said, the title is The Love Thief. And at that instant, I saw a falling star. So that became the title for the book. So it was, 5.5 years of a process. Um, you know,
And had you courted publishers yet at this point? At
I
what point
had
did publishers come
I
in?
had an agent,
Okay.
and she had gone out to a few publishers way too early. She didn't know it was too
Okay.
early, and I didn't know it was too early. But she went out, and we didn't have any bites on it. And that's when I went to the book doctor and all of that. And then by the time the book was done, I didn't want to wait for a publisher. It's a
Right.
12,
It takes
24, and
forever.
takes forever. But first we would have to find one. And I didn't want
Yes.
to do that. So I thought to myself, I want this book out by summer because it's a beach read. And I'm going to self publish it. And then a big five publisher will come and find me and take it off my hands. And that's exactly what
Great
happened.
idea.
It's exactly, I put it out there, and then I won't bore you with all the details of the story, but then I got a call, and the call was, we want your book. And then the book, came out with a new cover. And then the other thing that had happened that I didn't tell you early on
Incredible.
is when I had my first 30 pages of the book, so super early in the process, I sent it to two people. I sent it to Peter Gazzardi, who had been Deepak's editor at Random House forever and a day. And I sent it to my friend Suzanne, who's a film producer. And I didn't send it to Suzanne thinking it should be a movie. I sent it to her because I knew about her really awful first marriage to a toxic narcissist sociopath.
Wow.
So I thought she'd relate to it,
Yes.
which she did. And she called me and she said, keep writing. I'm going to turn this into a series.
Which
Now,
is now happening.
and then she sold it to Amazon MGM Studios, who have optioned it. So it is.
Congratulations.
So we're at the very, very, very beginning of that
Whew.
process because, it took 4 months to get just the option contract done. Everything's so
Yes. I mean,
slow.
all of this takes so long.
Yeah. And at this point where I'm at with the whole thing is it's super exciting. I'm having fun. I'm learning something I know nothing about.
Yes.
And here's what I'm going to celebrate. On the evening in which Brian and I are in bed with a bowl of popcorn and we turn on the TV and we watch the first
And
episode
there it is.
and we like the first episode,
Yes.
we like it, that's when the champagne gets opened.
That's the
But until then,
celebration.
it's just, it's just like
Fun
Anna.
and play.
It's fun and it's easy, but I've no attachment. I
I
understand
love this.
Hollywood is one step forward, two steps back,
Oh, boy, it sure is.
right?
Yeah.
So that's that whole crazy thing. But it's kind of like this is sort of goes back to where we started about
Right.
destiny,
Yes.
because it wasn't like my whole life I have to write a novel. In fact, the thought was never there. It was
Right.
never ever there. But clearly, somewhere on the other side in between lives, I met with whoever and signed up to channel through this story and do what it takes
And
to make it happen.
this is what I love. I really relate to not the have to projects, but the projects you're going to do. Like when I wrote my first book, which was a total passion project. And then, of course, I wrote the second and third book. Did I love writing the second and third book? Not as much when I was writing about breakups. And because I was channeling that first book.
Yeah.
I was just the vessel. To me, it was born into me, and I was the best messenger to deliver the message. Then it became, this is now your business. And I was like, but I don't think this is my message anymore. So I love what you're saying about the message found you, and I love that whole process. I do want to ask you a question about ambition. and the disappearance of ambition, because I think the pandemic did that for my husband. My husband was a super ambitious person. He's found some ambition again, but really the pandemic connected him to who he was. And he wanted to garden more and do these amazing things that he'd never really prioritized before. And I really watched that and marveled at it. So I part of me wonders if there's a pandemic piece, like it allowed us that opportunity to not have to be so ambitious because that's what society tells us to do. But also, I feel like ambition really changes in midlife, and part of it is hormonal. Part of it is that we have a certain level, maybe we've created a certain level of financial stability or comfort, so we're not as much in hustle mode. Part of it's that we're just wiser. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that shift in ambition for you.
Well, I think all of that is true. So for me, I would say my ambition melted into passion. So it's not
Yes.
like I'm not doing anything, but I'm not seeking anything. So there's another project I won't even get into on this call that's so gigantic and so not like anything I've ever done before that landed in my lap. And I'm super passionate about it. And I'm probably spending 10 hours a week on Zoom calls and doing stuff for it. And I love it because it's different and it's creative and it's
Sure.
fun. And I'm interacting with these super smart visionary people that are way outside, everything I've done in the past. And I saw that I was able to get there because I made friends with being bored. And I did it
I
as a
love that.
conscious choice because I took off about two, I would say about 2 years of just like I stopped coaching completely. Like I just would rather crawl naked over broken glass than ever do coaching again. It's just so, and I realized the
There,
whole
yeah.
love expert thing, I learned so much and I gave a lot and it was fun while I was doing it. But I am no longer relating to that at all
Yes.
as my purpose or mission. And I have a YouTube channel and there's tons of free stuff. I don't sell anything. I don't have products. You go to my website, there's lots of freebies on it. Happy to give it away, right? But then what happened was I ended up writing this novel that's all about women, single women yearning for love and babies in the white picket fence and the bad men that they end up with and what that really means. So at the essence, the love thief, what it's most about is what love really is and what it is
Yes.
not. And I'll just leave you with
Ooh.
one more thought on that. My favorite line in the book is when Holly, my protagonist, who's had her dreams crushed and her heart broken and shattered in a million pieces, thinking she's never going to survive. And she ends up in India at the spiritual bookstore, and the bookstore owner's a retired professor of psychology, and he becomes her mentor, the one she can confide in. And one day she says to him, "But did he ever love me?" And
Oh.
he looks at her and he said, "Holly, a man like this is not capable of love. Asking a man like this to love you is like asking a man with no arms to hold you.
Oh.
Simply impossible." And that's the essence of the book. And I will say the book does have a happy ending, but we go through this journey with her. So it is all about love.
I want to ask, so let me ask you this because I love what you just said. In your experience from your lifetime of writing about relationships and working with people and relate like coaching and then having a loving relationship with your husband, what is love and what is love not?
So I used to think love was a feeling, and I came to understand that the state of being in love, which, by the way, I like to call the socially acceptable form of insanity. But the state of being in love is nature's greatest drug high. It's your brain on drugs, on oxytocin and and adrenaline and serotonin and dopamine, lots of dopamine, but it's your brain on drugs, and you're having this experience with a stranger who you now believe you've known for many lifetimes, who is your person, who totally gets you, who's never going to leave you, and you totally go all in after you have sex for the first time and invest in someone you know nothing about.
Yeah,
So what?
guilty as charged many times over. Yes.
Yes, we all have. We were sold the whole Disney thing, yeah. So what I've learned and what I now believe is that, yeah, the state of being in love feels great and it's wonderful. And of course, we know it doesn't last. What
Yeah.
is love? For me, first and foremost, love is a behavior. Love is a choice. Love is a decision. Love is an action. Love is a way of being. And you can be truly in love and committed to your partner and take sacred vows with them. And the truth is, there will be days, weeks, maybe months where you hate them. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them.
Yes. This reminds me, so before I met my husband and after my big breakup that my first book was about, I was dating a guy, and he had made it very clear he was not available for commitment, and I was fine with that because I just wanted to have fun, and we were very compatible in a lot of ways, so we were just having fun. And I remember we went up to like there was snow in the mountains, so we went up and played in the snow, and we came back to his place, and he was cooking dinner, and I was on the couch and I was watching TV, and this thought passed through my head. I was like, I'm in love. And I paused and I was like, wait. Are you in love, or are you just really having fun right now? And I'm so glad I could make that distinction, because I'm sure a million times before that I'd had that same thought and believed it.
Right.
And that was the right choice in that moment to make, because of what we were both available for, and who we were in the world. Like he was not somebody who could have been a lifelong partner for me based on our value system. So I just remember that moment of aha, of like, wait, catch yourself, girl. Like, catch yourself before you fall.
Yep. And fun's
Yeah.
important to have, right? But if what
Yes. Oh, yes.
if you're seeking a partner and you're not going for values is the first thing you're going for, your chances are not good. I mean, here's the statistics most people don't understand. Everybody knows that 50% of first marriages end in divorce.
But it's worse for
Most people
second, right?
don't. 63% of second and 71% of third marriages end in divorce. And why? What's consistent with all three marriages? Oh, it's you. Choices and the decisions you're making,
Right.
as opposed to like really taking your time to get to know somebody. Do you have a shared vision for the future? Are you on the same side politically? That wasn't an issue 30 years ago,
It
but
used to
today it
be,
is.
sure is now.
It
Yeah.
totally is. I can't tell you how many divorces I know about because one went blue, one went red, and not going to
Yeah,
work.
those two don't make purple anymore.
No, no, they don't. So there's just so much to know. And the other piece of it is that drives me crazy is that it's really not that hard to find somebody, but it does require work. It
It
requires
does.
focus, which means, 40% of marriages now start on the apps. The other good thing about that is that the divorce rate among people who met on the apps is much lower than people who
Oh,
met in the wild. Yeah.
interesting. Why
Yeah.
is that?
I think it's because the people who are actively seeking on apps and are telling the truth on their profiles are serious. They know what they want,
Okay. So
right?
they're
It's not,
sharing who they truly are, what they truly value.
but we don't really know for sure,
Yeah.
but these days I'm telling you two people, don't, no matter what your experience has been on the apps, you didn't know what you were doing. I'm going to tell
Right.
you what to do. Here's all you need to know. It's like you never leave your house until you've had a couple of video chats with somebody, right? You want to see what their background is. Are they hoarders, right? Can they string sentences together? Do they look like their pictures? You have a couple
All
of
the
those.
things.
before you go for a walk in the park. Like, don't even
Yeah,
go for coffee. Go for a walk in the park and make sure somebody knows where you are. Just be smart about it. But there are good guys out there, but it takes perseverance. You just can't
it
say,
does. It
yeah,
takes perseverance, and I do think it takes believing it's possible. I had Evan Mark Katz on the podcast, and we were talking about the biggest hurdle that his clients have to overcome is often the belief that it's possible. And I remember being in that place when I
I
was
think that's
single,
true
and
across the
just
board. They
yeah.
think somehow they're too much, they're too this, they're too that.
Well, because we've been
It's
told that or conditioned, and yeah,
it's that plus, they're a 6 demanding a 10.
there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that going on. Evan's the best. I'm a big Evan fan. I think he's
He
just
is the
amazing.
best, and
He really
he's
is.
so humble about it. He's like, you're so nice to me. I'm like, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. I mean all these things.
Yeah. The other
So
thing that I'm sharing with people to do, single women, the best book I've found on how to find love these days is a book called How Not to Die Alone by Logan Ury. And she is the shrink for Hinge. And everything we're talking about, she writes about in detail about like how you have to like forego the butterflies to get what it is you really want. But like as from a
yes.
shrink's perspective,
Oh, that's
so,
so
spend
interesting.
$12, get the Kindle, read How Not to Die Alone. It will help.
Oh my God, that's a great title, by the way.
Isn't it great?
So, so how long you and your husband have been married? How long?
How long have we been
Or
married?
together? How long?
28 years.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I was a first
Mine,
time bride at 44.
20 years.
I
Yeah.
started late.
And I love that. So, what lessons have you learned along the way? Because you married midlife. So, what lessons about love have you learned in this journey with him?
Well, for starters, the thing I found out right after we got married, which was shocking and scary, was that I had absolutely no partnership skills.
Really?
None. I had never lived with anybody. I
Instead,
Yeah, none at all. So I
did you live
decided
together before you got married?
we were engaged when we were living together. It all happened really, really fast. And yeah, so I didn't know what I was doing, but I quickly figured out that I needed to become a student of love if this was going to work because I had done a great job manifesting him.
Yes.
I had 48 items on my wish list. I got 46 of them. But
Not bad.
there were so many things that were sort of superficial that weren't really important. And I didn't really know how to be in relationship
Mm,
because I was here's what I excelled at when we got married.
okay.
I was great at being the boss. I knew how to run a business and run people and manipulate and cajole and get my own way.
Must have known this going into things.
Um, I think he actually admired and respected that. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it doesn't work when you're with an alpha male and you want to be running the whole show. And I'll just give
True.
you a brief example of the first time I got confronted with all this. So Deepak Chopra had been my client for 12 years. And one day he called and said, "Oh, let's go to dinner tonight. I'm here. Rita's here. Let's meet up for dinner." I was like, "Oh, yeah, great." And we made a plan. I go home. Brian got home before me. And I said, "Oh, we're going to have dinner with Deepak and Rita tonight." And he gave me this look that I'd never seen before. And I didn't understand it. And I
Yeah.
said, because I knew he liked them. He's like, "Well, don't you want to go?" And he said, "But you didn't ask me." And I said, "Huh?" I said, "I knew you'd want to go." He said, "But it's disrespectful. You didn't ask me." And it took me like, I didn't quite get it. I heard it, but it was
What
like,
a great boundary.
I was so clueless about the whole thing. And I really started to realize, like, well, what is it? What more don't I know? Because I was like, used to taking charge and making plans. I kind of thought this is what I bring to the relationship. I bring the fun factor. I'm the party, right? and so we went, we had fun. But that was the start of my path to, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I've got
Right.
to figure this out. And so at that point, Claire Zamet and I were doing these, we used to call them teleseminars, that sort of,
Yes.
and we started one called The Art of Love.
Yes, I
On
remember
the
that
Art
one.
of Love, I would interview, or she would do it with me. We'd interview the world's top love experts in relationship and everything like that. And I was doing it as like my PhD in understanding love. So that for 2 years, I did, I don't know, at least 100 of these interviews. And some people I interviewed more than once. And every time I'd learn something, I would test drive it. And then I was reading all kinds of other books. And I remember one book that I read, I'll never forget this. It was a book where they had done a survey of 8,000 men, and they were trying to find out the most important thing uh, to a man when it comes to a woman in his
Okay.
life. And I was sure the answer was going to be sex, that would be the number one thing they
Right.
most wanted. It
I
was
would
not
assume that.
sex. It was not sex. It was respect. That's what they need more
Woo!
than sex is respect. I don't remember what else was in the book, but that was sort of the start of,
Revelatory right there.
right, of understanding men. And then I interviewed Alison Armstrong and John Gray, and I got great stuff from all of them. So, and that ended up becoming my book, Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, because I see myself as a reporter. It wasn't like I did the
Yes.
research, right?
Yes.
But I'm reporting back to the masses, like, okay,
Yes.
here's what I learned. Here's what worked for me. And I would weave in all these different stories about ways to use it. I actually put in dialogues that you could have on how to have different kinds of conversations with your partner. Yeah, really good stuff.
This is amazing. So, okay, so you learned you didn't know how to be a partner, and wow, how has your love shifted as you have grown together, grown individually?
Well, it's changed so much as we've aged and changed,
Yeah.
and the things that we do and can't do anymore because of the age. But I would say I'm still as fascinated with him as I was from day one. Of course,
That's a
I
great
know
sign.
him better now. I've also learned some ways to manipulate him when I want to. And I'll give you an example. So we no longer have the problem where I make a plan of what we're going to do. What I do is if somebody calls me and says, "Do you want to go do such and such or show up here?" I'll say to them, "Yes, I will be there. I can't answer for Brian, but you can count me in." And then I'll send them an email. "Oh, by the way, I heard from Lisa today and they're going to be in town. They invited us to Sunday brunch. I'm going to go. Let me know if you'd like to join us." And,
And that does and that language works for him, because for me that would, like, in my warped mind, I would go, "Oh, maybe I'm not invited." That's my
uh,
mind. So in
no,
his
that,
mind,
and
is
because
he
I
like,
know
"Oh,
that
I
half the time he'll say no, and the
yeah,
other half of the time he'll, like, sometimes he surprises me. So there was something that came up with three of my girlfriends were in town and said, "Oh, and Brian's invited." And I thought for sure he'd say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're going to see them. Go have a good time." And he was like, "No, I want to go." I was like, "You do?" I was like, "Okay." But so, that's what he needs. Um,
yes.
so it's just about also learning times of days to ask for what you want or need.
Yes.
Like I know, you know, earlier in the day for Brian is better. If I ask for
Okay.
something when he's like really sleepy and tired, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen,
That's good advice. Yeah, when is their energy peaking? Yeah.
right? Yeah. So it's about nuance, but I would say
Yes.
um, we're getting along better now than we ever have.
That's
And I think
beautiful.
it's because we've been through so much together. Both of us have had severe health challenges. Both of us have had to walk our parents through dementia and all kinds
Ooh,
of diseases and bury them and, now we're like the oldest people from the original family. And
Those journeys, yeah, you go on them together and I mean, nobody gives you that roadmap.
no, and it's a good thing. Like I was thinking, imagine if I had known everything that I know now that we were going to confront, I would have never gotten married.
Exactly. And thank
Never.
God we
And
don't know.
oh, thank God we don't know. Absolutely. Because
No one
you
would
know,
sign up for that.
no, no, and it's
And yet
sad,
it makes you stronger. It makes you grow together.
but it's so great to know that, you know, you're with somebody who's got your back, that you can
Yes.
trust, who can make decisions, that, that's just there for you, and it makes life so much easier,
Yeah.
not to try and do it alone. And, there are studies that prove that as long as you have a tight-knit circle of friends, you don't need a life partner.
Yes. Yes. I was gonna, one of the things I've been talking about a lot just in my household with my husband is we talk a lot about what do you think makes midlife more graceful to navigate. And and so we've kind of identified some things like having whatever your version of financial safety is, whatever that looks like. His is having great health, and mine is it doesn't matter if you have great health, it's being connected to your body so that regardless of if your health is good or not, that you're on the same team. um, and I'm like, that's cute that great health is, but what if you don't? That's not reality.
Yeah. Well,
And
talking to your
then,
brain every day, you know?
yeah, yeah, and then another one was loving relationship. It doesn't have to be partnership because I do think
You
a
see what
lot of
it is?
times in midlife,
See that?
what is,
I'll tell you what that is. Every day at 4:44, that alarm goes off because when Brian and I first met, we were working on a book thing together, and one of the big messages of the book was 444 is the sign that God loves you. So every day at 4:44, when we hear that, no matter where we are in the house, we're shouting, 444, I love you.
I love that. I love that. So speaking of love, I was saying like loving relationship. It doesn't have to be with partnership because a lot of times in midlife people are leaving relationships and finding a new way of being in the world. And I feel like as long as they have community where they feel supported and loved by others, it's not about a partnership. So I'm always asking, my guests, like, is what would you add to that list of things or that recipe for having a more grace-filled midlife journey? Okay. Yes, it can be. Yeah, right. Always, sure. And that's why I say some form of financial steadiness, whatever that means to the person, because we'd all like more, I think. Word, yes. What are you watching? Oh, I gotta get into that. Haven't started. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. I marvel at the talent and speed with which he creates because most people have a couple really great shows in them, and in a very short amount of time he has created some of the best TV, and I am so impressed. I marvel at that. That is someone truly connected to their art. Yes. Oh, that's my favorite in the evening. Yes. Question for you, because I want to bring this full circle. You really hit me in my core, and I love that we went off script. Like I had a whole bunch of questions. We were just free flowing, which is even better. But you really touched me when you were talking about, and I can't remember the words you used, but it was like something versus, I want to say divine purpose, but I don't know if that was it. So could you speak to that? What were the words? Yeah, so good. Ooh, willfulness, yes. And that's how it's going to be so magical. Yeah, it's great. Yes. Okay. Yes, yes, play. Yes. Not really. If I'm endorsing, I want to know what I'm endorsing. Yes. Yes, yes. I love that freedom piece. So, my final question to you is for anyone navigating midlife who wants to make that shift you're talking about. Now, it doesn't mean they're in, like they may not have all the freedom yet, but just this idea of surrendering willfulness and ego, I love those words, into that destiny. Like, what advice do you have? Ooh, I have been there. That resonates so deeply. I am so grateful for this conversation. It's so beautiful to re experience you at this age and stage of your life and my life. Thank you for joining us in Midlife today. Oh my gosh, thank you. To your point, there has been a shift. It's not fully without ego, but I do know that I am being driven by creative purpose in a way that's radically different than how it used to be. And I'm listening. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for this incredible time. And thank you everybody for watching, for being a part of the Welcome to Midlife journey. We are so glad that you're here and to be continued.